So I know all of you are here for Drone Brews, but I'm unfortunately sorry to report that today I was flagged, I was reported, and for misleading. I received this comment, and I have to issue an apology. It's from Mick the Miss 62402. Dislike, period. Report as misleading. And dude, for real, you can't even convince yourself. You treated the box like garbage. All we get is this. How freaking awesome and easy must this little drone be? That got every goddamn FPV racer on the fence from the go. I'm buying it. You get a report, a dislike, and a block. Get a life. He's right. I treated this box unfairly. This box has rights. I denied this box of its basic cardboard rights when I mutilated it during my unboxing. I'm sorry. So I guess I'm just going to delete my channel now. He's right. I need to get a life. But not tonight, because it's fucking Drone Brews, baby! Yes! Yes! It's another beautiful, beautiful Wednesday. We've got a hell of a banger of a show for you tonight. We've got beer, we've got drones, but the biggest question of all I know that you want to know, is producer Paul's white balance fixed? Is producer Paul actually using a real camera of any intense producer Paul?
Oh, snap.
Look at that, Paul. Look at that. You look handsome tonight, Paul.
I look good, don't I?
We actually look good. We look like studs, Paul. Look at you.
Ooh, look at this.
You got great white. Look at the skin tones, Paul. You're looking flush. Slimmer, might I add?
I know. It must be the shirt, right?
Must be the shirt. Must be the shirt.
Oh, yeah.
Paul, we've got 2 dislikes. The show just started. I have aggravated an entire community of prospective projected pilots. I've made a lot of people angry in the past 24 hours. There's been hate mail. I'm pretty sure, there was somebody knocking on my doorbell today. They wanted to fight me. There was a video on Ring. Paul, what are you drinking tonight, Paul?
It is the 40,000 subscriber real brew today. Oh,
wow, Paul, that is a brew. Paul, look at that. You're drinking a Blue Moon. Paul, I have brought out a very special beer tonight, Paul. I'm going to be drinking the Midnight Lager. This is the Midnight Lager. This is a Stellar Artois Midnight Lager. I've never tried this. This is amazing. I found it on clearance at Winn-Dixie. You know what Winn-Dixie is, Paul?
They just added an alcohol store outside of the Winn-Dixie. That's like a Winn-Dixie alcohol liquor store and like next to my house.
Paul, I'm smelling. Let's take the sip. We're going to try this. This is the Midnight. This could be bad or it could be good. I have a backup beer if this sucks.
Midnight? Ooh. How is she?
Yeah, she's not bad. It's you could tell it's a darker beer, but you know what? I like it, Paul. I like it. All right, let's quickly do this because we've got two guests in the wing here.
We got a lot of people here today.
It's going to be good. It's going to be good. These are two guys that I'm excited to talk to. Two very interesting channels in the FPV world that I accidentally stumbled across. When you start out in the hobby, you start looking for information. Well, these guys had the information I was looking for. So, but quickly, let's go to the chat. I see we got B-Man, we've got Aching Aerials, Papa Tree, Johnny McCower, we got Tim Man, Fly High Wisconsin, we got Moshi's in the house, Julio Morales, good to see you, man. Or Julio Montaz. I haven't seen Julio Morales in a while. Lauren Donner, let's see, we got Jason Mendez, Bobcat. Anybody without a wrench tonight is probably somebody that may be angry. I don't know. Like I said, I've got a lot of angry people. I've said some things that I can't take back, apparently. All right.
I can't believe the hate you've got around this. This video is very.
I love it. I love that the fact that people get so angry so fast. But you know what they say? You know what my mother always told me?
I don't know if I want to know.
She said, fuck him. All right, let's bring in the guests. Let's start off with the man, the myth, the legend. I'm going to do one at a time, Paul. I tell you, you click the button. So this guy, not to be confused with the man who was short-circuited. He's got 9 lives. He just needs input. Johnny 5.
Oh, Johnny 5. What's up, man?
With the bot grinder shirt. I'm glad I didn't wear my bot grinder shirt. Then we would match.
He was complaining about DJI today, so I was like, you know what? I'm wearing the bot grinder shirt on the DJI discussion.
That's the way to go. All right, so we're gonna bring in the next guest, somebody who. All right, so I got to tell you, this guy, John. You know who Matt is, right?
Yes.
All right, so I stumbled across this guy's channel. He had like 2,000 subscribers at the time, and I was like, holy shit, his quality is amazing, and his presentation is like not abrasive. It's just really pleasing to watch. And I've been watching his channel climb and climb and climb. And I'm like, the dude deserves it. He puts out good content. And it's very well thought out. So I'm going to probably butcher the shit out of his last name. So Matt, I apologize. I know you're sitting there like, I'm going to butcher it. But how do you think we say the last name? This is one that could go. Is that what it is?
I don't know. I just took a guess.
Is that what you said, Paul?
Pochwat. I don't know. Did I say it right? Yeah,
I'm getting the Pochwat. Wow, look at that. Let's bring in Matt Pochwat. I butchered it anyways. I'm drunk. Matt,
hey guys. Good, man. Thanks for having me. That was quite the intro too. I appreciate it.
Dude, you absolutely deserve that because like I said, I've been watching both of your channels and both of you guys are on very different ends of the spectrum as far as FPV goes. Matt, I would say you target more of the sort of the beginner curious crowd, like sort of walking through your journey. And John is for the guys that have been in there, but they need more of that technical, in-depth, content. So it's sort of interesting to have both of you on the stream. But I figure, who better to have to talk tonight? You guys have been sort of sitting back and watching everything that's been unfolding the past couple of days. So what do you guys think of everything so far? What you've seen?
Yeah, after the DJI drone got released, I think I spent like 4 hours just trying to get through everybody's reviews. there were just so many that
lot.
went out all at the same time, and it's tough. It's tough to like really get a good grasp on what the audience is for the drone, you know?
Right.
I purchased one yesterday. I'm waiting for it to arrive. I still want to make my own decision on it, you know?
That's a good idea. I'd encourage that.
I'm trying to just keep an open mind, but I don't know. I don't know what to think. Yeah, it's tough.
What about you, John? What do you think, man?
I ordered one too on launch day. I think this is a huge step. If we rewind when DJI first released this FPV system, you kind of realize the steps that they took. They released the system into the wild out of nowhere. People were interviewed about this topic, you know, less than a year beforehand, and people were thinking we were still 10 years away from having digital FPV. So they released it just out of nowhere to the hobbyist community, which is kind of like, that's strange of them to do. And about 18 months later, now we see their actual plan was to kind of use the hobbyist community as sort of, you know, excited, enthusiastic beta testers to really get all the bugs out to release this product that will now kind of merge the two markets between camera enthusiasts and RC enthusiasts, and it removes that skill wall required for you to have to learn, you know, hundreds of hours potentially of RC stuff to be able to do that. And it just, you know, you realize like the steps that they took, like they're playing chess when all these other companies are playing checkers.
Ooh,
yeah,
that was a good one.
Yeah. No,
honestly,
I guess that was damn good. Go ahead, man.
When I was watching all the reviews on them, I was like taking notes, just trying to figure out, you know, what are all the pros? You know, what are the problems that they fixed? And the list is pretty long. Like they've pretty much tried to at least like work on every single problem that a beginner might have when entering the hobby. And you got to give them credit for that. Like they did a pretty good job at addressing most of those issues.
They did and they didn't. I think that they fell short in a couple of areas. I think what they did was prioritized. So a couple of things. I think they prioritized battery life versus durability. Like I think there could have been a good trade-off there, right? Like use a different material, maybe introduce carbon, but I get it. Carbon's actually pretty expensive. I mean, maybe not really, but I guess if you're going to build it in this regard to try to get it into an airframe like they were looking to do, maybe it wasn't possible. I don't know.
Yeah.
But regardless, I think they could have did a little bit better on the durability. That's one of my major gripes with it, is just the durability aspect of it, because it takes one hit and then you're completely screwed, and you still have to solder to fix it, which is pretty crazy if you think about it for a beginner.
Yeah.
But you're probably going to send it into care refresh anyways at that point.
Right. The other thing I noticed, and I guess it's a question to you since you've flown it already, is like, what did you think of the camera quality? Because for most of the reviews that I saw, like I was pretty disappointed. I felt like it looked worse than my GoPro.
I guess you got to ask yourself, like, what camera quality? Because like I'm looking through the goggles. So what I see through the goggles, I'm like, holy shit, this is better than DJI FPV, like what I'm flying right now. Like it's really clear. And you know, like when you fly digital, you still get like some sort of distortion and pixelation. I wasn't getting any sort of pixelation. And I was like, wow, that's pretty damn good. And I was watching the milliseconds in the corner of my eye, and I'm like, all right, the latency is staying pretty good. Like it wasn't fluctuating too very much. So that was good. But then when I got it back and I started editing the video, I was like, ooh, we have some problems with the shadows here, because it's really crushing the blacks like a lot. And it just looked very muddy. And that was with Decinelike. So I tried it today, and I tried just using the standard mode, and it still looked very harsh. Like it just doesn't know how to, like, the dynamic range needs some work. Now, could that be fixed with software? I think so. But it's just not. It's funny that they didn't catch that. But again, what we see and we're like, that looks amazing. They may see and say, or we see and we say, oh, that looks terrible. They may see and they're like, okay, that's fine. So, I don't know. But they need to fix the camera. I'd rather have a GoPro, to be honest, though. That's just my take on that. I still rather have a GoPro.
It almost looks like the Mavic Pro quality a little bit. You know,
the older one, the older one,
the old Mavic Pro, the OG. Yeah.
What did you think about the camera quality, John?
Well, I think you're basically right. And a lot of the RC FPV community is kind of up in arms. They don't know what this product is for. They think it's a big fail. And I think that they're kind of missing the point a little bit. And because you guys all being in like the camera game know there is a category that's below
Right.
professional grade called prosumer. And
Mhm.
in the FPV world, you really just build like what would be considered a professional rig. You put on a $400 GoPro 9 and you go fly it, and that's kind of like the best of the bunch until you get to that simulator level. They're
Right.
not used to another level below that, and that's kind of to me where this fits. This is a prosumer class product, something that a consumer can pick up that's not too complex for them. A professional, somebody that's going out on a gig to shoot, I don't think is going to be using it. It's not the tool for that.
Right.
And but I think it's going to get a lot of people on that path to either go down getting that Mavic 2 Pro or go the other way and going into RC.
Yeah, and I mean, I guess there's something like I missed this too when I was reviewing it. I mean, if we really, really step back and really think about it, and we look at it, you're really not paying $1,300 for the drone, right? I think everybody, we're all, and I'm looking at the total cost as well. I see, okay, it's $1,300, but you're getting goggles and you're getting RC. So if you minus those costs, the drone is probably like $650 maybe, right? Which in actuality, it's not that far off from like the most expensive binding fly drones, right? It's not that far off in that regard. But I guess it's just that initial cost. Like if somebody bought this and they were like, well, maybe I want to go towards, like, I want to build a drone now, then they're sort of screwed because you still need the guy to get an RC at that point because the DJI controller at this point doesn't work. It's not backwards compatible with air units, which sort of sucks because the new RC is actually, it reminds me a lot of the Tango 2. It's comfortable, but there are some like little quirks ergonomically that I can nitpick about. But I mean, it is nice for travel purposes at least. I don't know. I think you're right about the category. This is like a category beneath that we've never seen before.
Yeah, I was honestly pretty hesitant to pick one up, especially just because of the price. But I think I'm just most stoked to just be able to give it to like family and friends to to try out, you know?
Absolutely.
And I think that's one of the best parts about it is just, especially like testing out the motion controller or whatever, just seems like so much fun, you know, for somebody who's never flown FPV before. You still kind of get that experience of like being able to go wherever you want, but you don't need the skill level.
And I think one of the things I forgot too with that is the fact that like this is a safeguard. Like we have that safety net. Like you talk about, you can give it to your friend, your family, and you got a safeguard.
Yeah.
I guess I don't know, maybe we just discount that a little bit, right? Like we think, okay, we build it, it's fine. But I think you're right about that. Like there is a fun factor. There is sort of like a whole other level. Like you can show people, be like, hey, this is why I fly. This is why I spend all my money on this. I don't think that's going to help me, but
yeah,
I won't even go that route justifying it. But yeah,
I also think it's just cool to see what's going to come next. You know, if they make a second one eventually,
yeah,
the second iteration could fix all the issues that we have with it right now, and could be something pretty awesome. You know. Who knows?
Yeah, I mean, it took me a little bit to like come to that like assessment. Like, I sat down today. I was by the water, and I was like, you know, I was flying, and I said, you know, I think this is where this really like excels. Not for flippy floppies, not for freestyle. I got addicted to freestyle. You know, when I first started flying, I had no intention. On ever freestyling, and I said that's not for me. And then I got addicted to it. So naturally, like my mind wants to flip this drone.
That's exactly how I felt.
But now I'm like, I sort of feel like it really just more or less thrives cinematically for like that long range. Like I've tried building long range drones, and in some way or another, they've always had some form of shortcoming. That's, you know, they're no longer on my wall back there because they just never made it back to me, or they crashed when they went into failsafe. So, I mean, this to me was interesting today. I was over the water, and I guess I had what you would consider as a failsafe for this, where it lost RC signal and it just stopped. I was 5 feet above the water, and it just literally just stopped dead, rose up, and you just saw it just flew right back. I was like, all right, well, that was pretty freaking cool. Any other drone, I would have been swimming.
Yeah, for sure.
So we'll see. I think there is a fair amount of hate. John, you've seen it. There is a lot of. You think it's like fear? What do you think it is with the FPV side?
Yeah, I think they feel like they weren't listening or paying attention.
Sure.
Because it's not for them. They think, being I was kind of a camera guy before I became an FPV guy like 5 years ago or so. So I kind of can see both points of where they're going with this. But in the RC community, they feel like we're the ones who do all the research and development and everything. We're the ones that have the skills. So it should be marketed to us. And it's obviously not. And so it's a huge fail. But what the biggest thing that I think it does is it takes that, when somebody comes up to you when you're at a race or flying in a park or something and says like, what is that? How can I do that? Like, I want to do that.
Right.
And it takes like 50 answers. And by the time you get to you need to buy a simulator and a radio, and you need to decide what kind of size you want to get, and you need to decide if you want to go analog or digital. By the time you get to the 10th of those 50 answers, their mind is just blowing. And
they've lost interest at that
point. Once you do
point.
all that, yeah, you're probably going to just crash it in 10 minutes anyway. And so then they're just like, okay, this isn't for me. But now you can say, go get the DJI FPV kit. One sentence, boom.
I mean,
yeah.
I guess I'll have to ask you guys that question again too. When you get them in hand, like I think for me, it's also like the mistake factor, because the curiosity factor is what's going to get, I think, is going to be a lot of the downfall of these units for people. So I got a chance to fly this back in December. And when I was flying it, I thought in my mind, I'm like, oh shit, this is going to fly just like what I'm used to. But it does, but it doesn't to a certain extent. It's definitely, the weight was heavier and it was slower. It was a lot different. And I crashed it twice because I was like, how the hell do you land this thing? It doesn't land like you can land it, but it's like, it sort of teeter-totters a little bit. And I was sort of like, well, that's weird. So you also got to get into a mindset of, you can land this like a normal drone. Like you can just flip it and just land it like a Mavic. You can actually grab it with your hand, which in some instances is pretty cool. And a lot of people think I don't like it. It's not that I don't like it. It's different. I'm trying to find a place like for it, like in what I do now. Like, where does this fit for me in my workflow? Like, what would I actually use this for? Like, could I really recommend this to somebody in that regard? I don't really know at that point.
Yeah. I also think it's funny though, because like when we just heard the rumors, when we weren't really sure what the drone was going to look like or be like, I feel like so many people in the FPV community had so much hate for it, or they just had hate for DJI when they came out with the whole digital system, saying that they're going to try to take over, all these small companies, just try to monopolize the whole market, which is like rightfully so. They kind of did that with photography drones with the Mavics and all that. But there did seem to be like a lot of worry that was going to happen. And I feel like now with this drone that came out, that definitely didn't happen, because they kind of seem to just have found their own niche in the market. And I don't know. In my opinion, I think it's funny that like now some people are upset that it's not, like FPV people are upset that it's not for those hardcore enthusiasts, and that they can't find a like reason for it. While I don't know, it's not meant, like it's just meant to broaden the interest in FPV in general,
And I think a lot of people too also take grievance with like DJI's business practices in general. Like there's a lot of shady things that happen. And obviously, let's face it, just in FPV alone, if we look at all these manufacturers, they all borrow and steal from one another in some event. But then there's also like,
absolutely,
the way they treat their employees, like people have problems with that, which, I mean, I get that. There's like human rights things that happen behind the scene, whether or not you support a brand or not. Like I recently, stopped supporting T-Motor because, they were stealing designs from Andy Shen, who's, here and who busts his ass for, everything he does with the community, and just to be blatantly, ripped off, which sucks. But I mean, that's what's happening. But it happens across the board. We see it with iFlight. We see it with all of them. And it's the primary reason why, like I was talking to John last week, I was like, hey, how are those 5-inch motors from Kebab? And he goes, they're pretty damn good. And I was like, as soon as I watched his video, I'm like, I'm sold. I have 4 sets of them, but it's the very reason why he won't give out that size, because he knows that his product will get emulated and manufactured quickly for a lesser cost, and it sucks. And that's what DJI does. And I don't know. I guess did you guys see the teardown of this? I saw there was a teardown of the FPV drone.
I saw it. I didn't have a chance to watch it, but yeah, there was a video like that.
Did you check that out, John?
I just saw a couple of the pictures. People are saying the ESC looks very similar to a hobby grade, but it also has
It does.
a bunch of other stuff in there, like the fan and a lot of other pretty neat components. It does seem like some of the things are going to be user replaceable, like the gimbal and I think the arms.
Yeah.
But I think for a lot of things, you will have to send it in.
Yeah, I think if you start getting up towards the flight controller, you're probably going to have to send it in. But I think if you had to like replace an arm, well, the motor comes with the arm, so you'll have to solder in a new motor. It looks like everything's color coordinated. So if you just follow along with what you have there, you'll be able to desolder one motor, solder it in, another motor, and or the other arm, I should say, because at that point it's the arm. It looks, reasonably easy. And just like I was tinkering around with it tonight, sort of taking it apart and just looking at it. And I mean, it seems somewhat simple. I don't know if it would be like beginner simple, though. I think that most people will probably, if they got Care Refresh, send it in. It's $200. It's almost mandatory, I think, at this point.
What do you get for it?
For the Care Refresh?
Yeah.
I believe it covers up to 2 replacements, 2 accidental replacements, and then you get expedited repairs. I'm not sure if you have the option to like say, okay, well, I don't want to use a full replacement. I just want to repair. I don't know if you get that option where you can pay something. I'm sure you do.
Right.
I mean, I know with the Mavics, I got 2 replacements when I destroyed it, and you just send it in. They send you another one out pretty quickly. That's usually how it works. But I mean, I'm almost curious just to see, like, if I broke an arm, how hard would it be to fix it myself? And does it still fly the same type of thing? I'm almost curious. I mean, that's just my take on it. What do you think do you think we'll see new air units from this, or you think they're done with that experiment?
I
hope we've seen. Yeah.
Yeah.
Go ahead, John.
I hope we do see air units. I think it's beneficial for DJI to continue producing them, because especially if a lot of people do buy the DJI drone to, dip their feet into the FPV ecosystem. You already will have the goggles, you'll have a controller. You can just buy another quad with an air unit in it, and they'll end up getting more money for it, and it just kind of builds the whole hobby scene,
Yeah.
So I hope they do. I think it'd be really disappointing if they just took it away from everyone.
Well, John, what do you think with this? Because the new FPV drone, it's dual band. So it's not like the old, like what we're dealing with the current units where there's a single band. So we're dealing with dual band now. You would think that if they made new air units, hopefully the 6S capable, and maybe they allow you to use that new RC with it. What do you think?
It would be nice. I think that historically DJI tends to have several layers of products, and so you kind of graduate from one to the next. Eventually, you come with the Spark, you graduate to the Mavic, you go up to the next level, and so this product really points in 2 different directions. One is that traditional path where you would escalate up to a Mavic, and the other side where they would go to the DJI FPV RC side. So either way, they position themselves to be able to capitalize on both directions that this product points to. I have seen a lot of companies really trying to tweak. People are selling Beta FPV, selling naked Vista Whoop kind of products. I'd like to see somebody come out with the smaller unit, whether it's DJI or I don't really know how their collaboration with Caddx works, but it would really be nice to have a little bit of better resolution if we could take advantage of that 810p that the DJI FPV drone has. That would be pretty nice.
Yeah, I think that's the biggest bummer for the V2 goggles is that, if you're using the Vista or you're using an air unit, excuse me, I'm almost halfway. I have 3 beers in tonight. If you're using any one of those, there was really no difference. It's not like people were freaking out about the V2 goggles and they really wanted them. And I'm like, I don't have them in stock, but I'm like, there's like, why, like, are you flying digital? Yeah, I'm flying digital. I have the V1. Why are you buying the V2s then? I mean, the only major benefit that I can see going V2 is that you can put a 6S battery on it, like technically, and not blow it up. That's cool. Like there were so many times where I'm in the field, I'm like, oh crap, I'm out of battery. I don't have any more 4S batteries. I would have loved to just plug in a 6S battery and be good to go, but you can't.
Into the goggles?
Yeah.
Oh, dude, I've been doing that all this whole time.
So, but it's funny. One of my buddies has been plugging a 6S battery, and his is fine too. So I'm wondering if it's certified, but they just never publicly said it, because I've made that mistake too. I plugged the 6S battery in, and I immediately was like, "Oh shit, I'm gonna fry this." It didn't fry. So
that's good to know. I didn't even know.
Maybe it is. Maybe it is that, that route. So it's tough to say. It's tough to say.
Right.
Paul, what do we got in the
I think
comments,
at the end of the day that this drone, yes, it has some shortcomings, but I think they're, like you said earlier, they're not gonna throw all their eggs in one basket on the first release. They're gonna release something, let people use it for a little bit, and DJI is fairly good at taking the critique, and then the next generation is going to be a lot better, and they'll take all their feedback they get from this first one and probably dump it into another one.
That's typically what usually happens. Let's take a look and see what we got going on in the comments, see if we got anything interesting. This is usually what triggers me, and then we end up into a shit show, and then I have to unlist stream. I usually have to unlist streams shortly after reading comments. It's never fails.
Usually gets them in trouble.
Yes, this usually gets me in trouble. So let's see. I really want it digital, but 500 for the goggles is crazy. You think that's crazy for goggles, John? $500 for goggles?
I think it's cheap because I sold my HDO2s and rapid fire module for $650. I got the DJI goggles on Father's Day sale for $409. So I actually saved a couple $100, bought myself an air unit, and was off on DJI already. And the other thing I will say is I still review some of the tiny loops and analog stuff. And so I thought about getting another pair of Fat Sharks to do that. But the DVR on the Fat Shark is so terrible. DJI DVR, even with an analog module, is so much better. Good. So for me, DJI is also the best analog goggle.
That is true. I have the analog. I have the God, what is it? It's the one that sits flush. It's the one with the Britain. I can't even remember the name. It's
BDI.
BDI. It's the best adapter. I haven't used it in a while because I have literally not been flying any analog for a while. But so Cody Mon says, so glad you're not shitting all over this drone like you did last week. It's not that I'm shitting over it, over it. It's
not that at all. He's just you're so used to FPV, and now you're getting a product that's not nearly as customizable.
Here's my problem. If everybody sells sunshine and rainbows when a product is not perfect, then the product's never going to be perfect because the company believes that they don't need to do any more RDI. They don't have to do anything more to it. They don't have to do any more QA or validate their work. So when you were objectively telling someone what is wrong with a product in a constructive way, I never said I hated it. I never said it was a piece of shit. I just pointed out a couple of things that could have been done better. For instance, the design of this drone technically could have been a dead cat design. What do I mean by that? Because I know people are going to be like, what the hell is a dead cat? The props could have been out of view. Like, it could have been out of view. If you're touting this drone as a cinematic drone, I think it would have been a beneficial idea to have the props out of view. And they could have did that just by widening the stance of the drone, right?
That was my initial thought. I'm like, why are they, if you only got the one camera, why are the props?
It's technically, if you look at it, it's almost a dead cat design. It's almost more like True X, I guess, because the props just hit the shot ever so slightly. I think if they could have just pulled these back, like just made them back a little bit further, and maybe, I don't know, extended the chassis just a tad, that would have worked out fine. I don't know.
So in the final shot, do you see the props?
Yeah, you can see, like, in the final shot, you can see just the red. Like, you can see them ever so slightly, but that's also in the widest view. So in your widest view, you're going to see that. And I'm also hearing from people that if you switch to 50 frames per second, you actually get a little wider view. So you're going to end up with more prop in the shot at your widest view. Now you can obviously crop in. You can crop in on that, but I would think the whole point is like you want a wide view, but no prop in the shot, right? That's what I would think, especially if this was designed to be a cinematic drone. But
that
I don't
makes sense.
I mean, that's just, I mean, it's a minor gripe. I mean, who knows? I mean, the other thing is like, I mean, the camera, like we talked about, it's good. It's not the best. It's not the best. They can still fine tune it with software, which I think we'll probably see that sooner rather than later. But
do you find that it color grades better than like GoPro footage?
I think so. I'm gonna be real. I'm biased towards D-Cinelike. I feel like the DJI flat profile has always graded much better than the GoPro flat. The GoPro flat color profile was always, I could never really get like good contrast or just, I don't know, the saturate. It just didn't, it never looked like it was graded properly. But I feel like D-Cinelike is like a true, almost like that next to log. And it actually, I think it looks good once you grade it or just do something minor.
The few reviews that I watched that had like amazing looking footage, they were also people who are amazing colorists.
Sure. Sam Colder's amazing. He's going to knock it out of the park all the time.
Yeah, him and the other guy, it's a French guy, Stéphane Couchaud. I don't know if you guys know him, but his DJI release video was incredible, like way higher quality than any other videos that I've seen.
I think I saw that. That was amazing. But he's definitely amazing colorist though, for sure.
He is, yeah. But I was just wondering if like the coloring in general is easier on that.
I think it is. I just think they need to find that good balance between shadow and highlight. Like, what are they going to retain more? Right now, I feel like the drone favors the highlights more, and it just forgets about the shadows entirely, and it gets very crunchy. But I mean, that's something that they can definitely fix the curve. But yeah, Sam Colder, just his videos, I mean, he always does amazing as well. But here's the other thing to consider that I don't think a lot of people realize. Like, I know for me, I usually put my GoPro in ISO 100 and I set it to max ISO 100. Let's say if you want it to fly at 400 ISO or something, or you need it to, right? You're at 400 ISO locked, right? And you're flying what you consider to be controlled lighting. And all of a sudden, clouds break, you got that sun. Your camera is also the camera you're physically seeing through, right? So because it's got that split cam. So now all of a sudden it gets bright and blown out. You got to hit the pause button and say, oh shit, I got to fix that, which sort of sucks. Because if you're flying a manual, you're not going to be able to stop and fix that. That's the other thing I wish they didn't do. I wish we had a dedicated camera for the feed and just the dedicated actual physical camera, right? Yeah. This would have been a good opportunity for them to actually bundle this with, let's say, a new Osmo. Like sell a new Osmo. That's what I thought. I thought they would have made a new Osmo. That's what I originally
thought they were going to do.
So, I mean, I would have thought that they would have, this would have been an opportunity for them to sell an Osmo.
This is an interesting question from Brad, and this could go into what you said.
This is John's alley right here.
Do you think the outer shell could be 3D printed and GoPro mounted to the drone?
What do you think, John? I'd say yeah.
It does look like it. It has two little screws on the shell from what I've seen in the pictures.
Yeah.
But like if you look at Kebab's frame, the Cinesploor, you can print PETG ducts, which is a little bit harder and more flex than PLA. And you can actually solder iron those little inserts in there perfectly. So I think that might be a good use case for that. I haven't held the shell, so I don't know how hard it is. But you definitely could make a GoPro mount out of that. I wouldn't crash it, but you're not going to want to crash this thing anyway. So I think someone should try it.
Yeah, I mean, I guess you could. You would just have to, because the way it flies, it sort of flies like this. You could technically do that. I mean, the shell is not very rigid. It's not very rigid. So, but I mean, that would be interesting just to make a mount and then just have like a universal GoPro mount. If somebody wanted to. I don't know what that would do to the flight characteristics on this because it does seem to struggle a little bit now flying.
Yep. So Nurk did that in his review. He just like screwed a universal GoPro mount on top, and I think he flew the Hero 8, and you could definitely feel it kind of struggling. And he said that it felt like the PIDs were going a little crazy with all the extra weight.
It does. So one thing that I did notice is that it bobbles a little bit. Like as you're flying, there's like this slight bobble. Even when you're flying super smooth, there's like this little like bobble. Like I can't explain it. Like some people get it, but the faster you go, that bobble obviously disappears. The bobble disappears the faster you go. That's why people were like, well, when Vanover was flying, it looked smooth. Let me tell you, Vanover could fly a freaking potato and it's going to look smooth. You know, he could fly a potato and it's going to look smooth. That's just because he's super freaking talented.
What about what do you think about underslung mount on the bottom?
I mean, I guess you could. I mean, you do have some
Make it hard
screws
to
here.
land.
I mean, it would make it hard to land, but you could hand land it. I would just worry about how you're going to take off, right? I guess you could take off from your hand as well.
Or like just do like a racing style launch pad. We always undersling our batteries when we're racing, so our launch pads always like go off on the arms.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, that would work. I mean, there's definitely a lot. We're going to see, you know, as this thing progresses, we're going to see a lot of shit. And who knows, DJI may say, oh, hey, we got an attachment for the new Osmo. If they produce a new Osmo, so they may come out with, you know, something like that. There may be a reason why they made this thing so smaller the shape it is. I don't think you make something like this unintentionally. There's other purpose behind this size. We just obviously don't know what that purpose is right now.
Mav Mount would like to know what will be the benefits of doing a GoPro over using the built-in camera from the FPV drone.
Matt probably could speak more to that. He's pretty good with color. I mean, I'm just a fan of the stabilization and the view of GoPro. I don't know about you guys.
I wouldn't say I'm better at color. I'm complete.
You're pretty damn good at color. Your colors are consistent.
I'm partially colorblind, actually. So I've always struggled with color, but yeah, no, I just find that the GoPro footage looked a little bit sharper, I guess.
Okay, that's fair.
And whether or not you put it down to like the lowest level of sharpening, it just seemed, you know, once you do it in post, like the clarity was just a lot greater than the footage that I saw from that drone. Okay. But yeah, as for the coloring, I don't know. I don't know what it's capable of. I think that, like you said, a lot of the Mavics and the other DJI drones, just the flatter color profile seems to color a little bit better than the GoPro does. I've just always struggled to get any other color grade from the GoPro than like the generic kind of bright saturated.
709,
yeah. So I usually just stick with that. I think it looks good, but if you're going for a specific look, I think it's kind of hard on the GoPro. But maybe it's me. I don't know.
I think stabilization would probably be the main key, like you said, and then not getting the props in the shot for the widest viewpoint you can get. So
the stabilization. I mean, it's okay. I think Hypersmooth still knocks it out of the park. If I'm just being honest, I mean, Hypersmooth on the Hero 9 is bar none still like amazing. I don't know. I haven't been using stabilization at all flying with KISS, and it looked better in some instances than this. But you know what I did notice is it doesn't like the wind, and that's unfortunate. I mean, no drone really likes the wind, right? But I did notice that this struggled a little bit more in the wind. I did take it out tonight, and it was blowing about 20 knots. And I just wanted to see if it was going to get stuck again on me. Because yesterday when I was flying it, it got stuck. I want to see if I can pull that video up. I didn't include it in the video because I was like, I don't know if I really want to go down this rabbit hole.
We have a good subscriber here, Mr. Eddie Nunez wants to just give a big shout out to Matt. Thanks for your help, man.
Thank you, man. Thanks for watching.
See?
I'm glad you like the videos.
I knew Matt has fans, man. Let me see if I can find this. I'm trying to remember what clip it was. Oh yeah, shit. Oh, I'm almost afraid to even show this because you know how people get crazy about stuff. It sort of got away from me. this one got away from me. Let me open this up. Oh, it says it's not supported. Why is it not supported? Can we not share videos, Paul? That's weird.
You should be. What you should do is share.
Upload it as a video clip.
No. Share your screen, and you can choose the application
video file.
You want.
Oh, it's letting me choose a video file. I'm trying to upload this video file of the issue. Oh, it's saying I can't do that. What the heck? It won't let me play the file, man.
Can you upload it to the video clips?
It's not letting me. Let me do this.
Why don't you just share your screen with audio?
Yeah, that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna do that. Hang on a second. Give me a second. Let me pull this clip into Premiere Pro.
Be patient with us.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah.
Also, I did hear people comment specifically about reviewing the DVR and saying that it did seem wobbly, like you were saying. It seemed like a poor tuned quad. One of my buddies, Joe, he's actually a builder for Catalyst Machine Works, and he tunes a lot of their quads. He was like, "Oh my gosh, I would never make somebody fly a quad that flew that poorly." And I didn't think it was a big deal, but that's something that a lot of the FPV community is going to pick up on. I don't think new users are going to notice that.
No.
But if you're used to a really well-tuned 5-inch, you probably are going to notice that. How did you see that whenever you were flying it?
There was times where it flew like, I was like, oh, wow, that's actually really good. And then there was times where I was like, that was pretty bad. Like you get a lot of like shudder and vibration. But I think this was what scared me the most. Was this right here. And I think a lot of users may encounter this at some point. So what was happening here was I'm flying and I was attempting to come back to myself and the drone was just getting blown around by the wind. It was blowing about 15, 20 miles an hour. So the drone was absolutely, this is the drone. I'm not controlling the drone. It's just getting blown around. I'm trying to get it back to me. And I'm like, at this point, I'm like, oh shit, this thing is all over the place. Like this is the drone, like, doing whatever it's doing. So at one point I'm like, okay, you know what? There's a pause button. I'm fighting the wind right now, trying to get it to actually fly. But here's the problem. Like you see how you see the pitch of the gimbal here, how it's so far down. As I was flying, what I was doing was since I pinch, here's the scroll wheel. My pinky rests on the scroll wheel. So what was happening was as I'm moving the pitch down. And the way the drone works is that the higher the pitch, the faster it's going to let you go. But what was happening was I was like -5 degrees or something like that. Well, at -5 degrees, it's not letting me pitch forward anymore. So it couldn't fight the wind. And I guess I didn't realize it at the time because you're in the air. You don't realize it. But I finally did end up realizing it at some point that was what was happening. And I just, I hit the stop button. I think it was like right here. I hit the stop button and you see the drone's like, okay, I got this. And then it just, let me fly. I just was like, okay, yep, I'm in sport mode. And it let me fly. So, if that happens to people, I mean, I'm sure that's going to happen. I'm sure that's going to happen. But it was scary at that moment because I was like, wait, what the hell's happening? We're not used to the pitch changing. The pitch is like 20 degrees or 30 degrees or whatever we set it. And it's a constant. So that was something that sort of caught me off guard.
So Matt, you have some fanboys in here. We got some showing some love here. Check out this comment here. Oh, it's not that one. Mikey Smith says, "Is that Justin Timberlake?" I mean,
I've never heard that one before. That's hilarious.
There's the first time for everything, man.
I'm looking at the comments here. Sorry. Just trying to get caught up on the comments here. Yeah. They're still going on about the color grade, I think. But
yeah, Mav Mount was saying something about he said, Matt, shoot the D-Log profile on the M2 Pro. Is that the Mavic?
I don't know who that is or what. Maybe they're talking
anyways
about
if that's related, if that's directed to me, I've actually never flown a Mavic or any photography drone. So but actually I am planning on buying one soon. Ken, if you have any recommendations.
Honestly, man, the Mavic Air 2 is such a good little drone to just take around. I like the Mavic Air 2. It's versatile. And I'm pretty psychotic about matching like all my color profiles. So right. I think if I'm going to do something with like a video with the both of them, I'll probably use the Mavic Air 2 because then I could use Desynalike. You get a good post-process match, which is nice.
I would for sure get a Mavic Pro or Mavic Air 2. That's gold.
Yeah, Mavic Air 2 would be good. Shifting away from this, a question that people have asked a lot is, well, if I don't get this, what should I buy? Like if I want to get into a beginner drone, what do they buy, John?
I mean, right now, the two best kits are probably Emax's Tiny Hawk kit or the Easy Pilot kit, which has some weird beginner modes that are kind of user-friendly, or the FPV kits. They have the best beginner radio. That's sort of an Xbox style. But the thing is, both of those kits are going to be analog. Now, yes, they're going to run about $100 to $200, which is attractive. But a lot of your people that are used to that Mavic, DJI, prosumer type quality are going to see that analog video feed and just be disgusted with it. I was at a race once we put on at a high school, and we're thinking this is going to be exciting for the kids and all this stuff. We see some kids behind me. We have one of the fastest racers in the country there. He's ranked 10th right now in the global rankings. And I could hear these kids snickering behind me because someone handed them an analog monitor to see what we're flying. And I heard one of them say, "Is that what they're looking at? Is that what this looks like?" Because if that's what they're looking at, I feel sorry for them. It wasn't, "Oh man, that looks awesome, I want to try it." It was like, "This is disgusting, and I feel sorry for you for even having to look at that." And unfortunately, that's the impression people are going to get until now. So the entry point's $1,300. It's a little bit easier. It comes with everything. You don't have to buy a separate charger. You don't have to learn beta flight, so I think it's going to be the way to go for most people.
And I think most people they don't want to sit and do the tuning aspect of things. It sucks because like when you're first starting out, like, I don't know what any of this means. There's these numbers, but what is PID? What does it all mean? And you got to sit and like watch countless hours. And like for me, I would just be like, I want a preset, I just want to fly. And I never took the time to really understand that until a couple of months ago. I was like, I became hellbent on like, I got to figure this out. This is driving me nuts. And you sit and you watch video after video and you research, but like not everybody wants to do that. Not everybody cares. A lot of people just want to spend the time flying, or they want to be casual about it. So, yeah, I think Emax kit would be pretty damn good. Digital, we don't really have like a good cheap digital kit, I guess. Like there really isn't. There's nothing that's going to be cheap. I know like Get FPV has a couple of them. They're $1,100 for a quad. I wonder, do you think those prices will come down now since the FPV drone is now $1,300? It sort of sets the bar for what they can charge, I think, at this point.
I think it is, and we've been seeing that the last 18 months with the high-end bind-in flies, particularly the iFlight Nazgul and the Diatone Roma. You cannot build a quad that flies pretty good for anywhere close to that price. With the DJI kit, they're now about $300 to $330, and with analog, they're like $160 on a good day. And it's just like you can't build it yourself for that. So I think this is going to be the democratization of FPV. It's going to remove that skill wall. And so the enthusiasts from the camera world and from the RC world are both looking down on it. But it's kind of like, before a long time, 100 years ago, you had to have your own mechanic if you wanted an automobile. And when Ford came out with the Model T, everybody could have one. How did that car compare to the people that were driving a couple years ago? It was probably a piece of junk. They were like, it's ugly, it's slow, but you know what? This is something that anybody can pick up and do. And the same thing happened with Apple. Like when they came out, people in the homebrew communities were used to building their own rigs. And whenever you could go buy one off the shelf, the specs were not anywhere near what the enthusiasts were using. So they think it's pointless, but it's not geared towards them. So all the pricing is really going to go all over the place in the next 18 months.
Yeah, I think this is definitely going to be a shakeup. My hope is that we start seeing price reductions on certain things we have now. I mean, reality is, to build a drone, it is cheap, especially if you piece it together. I can compare it to a computer. If you're going to build your own computer, you can sort of buy all the components as you're going along. And then when you get everything together, you can put it together. And I used to think that it was really hard to build these. And that was why, like, every time I always started to dabble with FPV, I'd back away. Like, oh shit, I don't want to deal with this. And it just had to do with, I was touching the wrong stuff. Like somebody got me to buy a Vortex 150. All right, that's the wrong frame to start with. Like for a beginner, it's really tight. It's not, it doesn't make a lot of sense. When you put stuff together yourself, like it's starting a puzzle. Like I look at everything like at FPV, like if I dumped out, a box puzzle and I started piecing that puzzle together and I knew what the photo was supposed to look like, it makes a little more sense as to where if somebody dumped all the pieces out and threw away the box, and I'm just trying to put these pieces together, it's a little harder. But I think that's FPV for a lot of people though. as a whole, at least in the camera realm. They're interested, but they want the easiest point of entry, which, I mean, I guess I can understand that, but I also feel like there's also a risk factor involved as well. I could be wrong.
There is, but that brings me to another point I have with my local crew a lot. And it's like, why should we make it easier? But I think that if you look at the people in FPV, it's like 4 different types of people. It's like IT guys, it's like mechanics, it's artists, or like skateboarder type people. And what all those people have in common? They're people that'll keep trying and trying and trying until they get it. It's people that are used to trying that trick until they hit that kick flip down the stairs. It's somebody that's used to troubleshooting endlessly till they get it. And so we're already here. If we wanted to expand more, because there could be plenty of people that are awesome pilots, but they don't have the patience to go through that.
It's funny you use that analogy, because I was that kid growing up, skateboarder, rode freestyle BMX. So for me, like, I remember countlessly falling down a staircase until I was able to, till I stuck it. So I totally get that, because I'll blow shit up on the bench and I'll be like, all right, I'm done for the day. 20 minutes later, I'm back at it. I'm like, I found my mistake. So there is a persistence thing, but it's nice to have your own personal victories in when you build something. I think that if people would just try it, like, if we have to be open-minded to the FPV drone, I think people should be equally open-minded to the fact that try to build something. I think that the satisfaction when you build something on your own is unmatched, and the fact that, like, now you know how that product went together, and when you break it, you can fix it. I know it's like, well, why do I want to do it? I just want to listen. I'm not saying it's lazy. I'm not saying anything. I'm just saying just try it, because the satisfaction of building something, seeing that something fly, and knowing that if it does break, by the chance that it does happen, that you're going to be able to fix it because you know exactly where all those pieces were. That's all I'm saying to anybody in the the camera drone world, that, because it's weird. Like, I went through the comments today, and it's just like, it's a clusterfuck.
Yeah,
it really is.
I think why I've always been, like, really pro the whole bind and fly route, or the ready to fly route, is because, like, personally, that's the way I started. I bought a few bind and fly quads, and I just wanted to set them up and, take them out and fly. I just found the whole building process really overwhelming, since I also came from, like, a more an interest more in the videography part of it, not necessarily the whole, like, building and tech part of it. And I just feel like I just found it so much easier to, like, learn as I broke stuff. Like, if I broke the antenna off, or like a camera or whatever, it was way easier to look up a YouTube video on how to fix that specifically, and you learn that skill, and then you can, like, that's something that you already have for further down the line.
That's a good point. That's actually an amazing point.
And then I would just learn, like, step by step, and it just felt a lot less overwhelming.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And I was never opposed to learning that stuff. I was prepared to learn it eventually. And then eventually I had the confidence, to start building my own quads and all that. But I don't think I would have gotten into it if I had to build from the start.
But I think people need to hear that that's okay. It's okay to buy a bind and fly drone. Yeah. And then as you break something, say, okay, I broke this part. That makes a lot more sense, because you piece it. Like, I was the same way in school. If you would have gave me all these assignments all at once, I'm going to fail. But if you give me things in pieces, I can definitely figure it out. But there are a lot of people like that. It's easier to search for one specific task of what the issue is and attack that one specific problem. But I think the mentality with FPV in general is that if you don't build it, it's not good. If you don't fly X, it's not good. There's a stigma on both sides, but I mean, it's the same way in the camera drone world. It's weird to see them both converge, and I have an interesting audience, because it's starting to bleed over. Like, I'm starting to get FPV guys starting to, come over, and then I also have a pretty large camera base people. So it's trying to find that balance of, like, what is everybody interested in? But I think as of right now, there also is a bit of FOMO happening this week. that people feel like they have to buy this because it's got a brand's name on there that they're familiar with, and they're going to buy it, and then maybe they don't have, like, they have an expectation in their mind. They fly it and they're like, that's not what I thought it was. But I mean, it's fine. Try it. Like, that's what I tell anybody. Just try it. I mean, most shit's got a return policy. If you buy it from Amazon or something,
Yeah.
You're going to be able to return it if you don't like it, even if you flow it. I don't know if Best Buy has these or not, but I don't know. That's just my thought on that. I could be wrong. TBS Oblivion. What's that, John?
That is one of Team Black Sheep's old. It was sort of like a square framed drone.
Oh, you know
a
what?
lot of people started on that.
Okay. I think I've seen those.
It was a cool idea.
Super chat from Drone X Factor. Sorry,
I did see X in the house.
I think it'd be an interesting comment to talk to.
Sim to real drone first flight. What to expect? All right. Well, I would say I looked at the DJI simulator and I don't think it's very good. The DJI FPV simulator. I would probably start with like a liftoff or a Velocidrone. I don't know. Did any of you guys take a look at the simulator that they created for FPV?
I saw videos of it. Are you able to try it without actually purchasing the drone?
Yeah, I believe so. Well, actually, I take that. No, yeah, you can. It's a standalone app. It's a standalone app on your phone. Do you
need V2 goggles though, or would it work with the original ones?
I was actually using it with no goggles, and there was like hand controls. I mean, everything was in Chinese though, but I couldn't understand what they were saying, but I knew what I was flying. Yeah, I think if you go to DJI Simulator, there was a drone simulator. I saw there was an app for it. I know I saw it. I haven't like messed with it since that day because I was like, oh, this is not good. This is pretty terrible. But yeah, there's a simulator. I mean, I don't know. I still think like Velocidrone or something like that would probably give somebody a better grasp of like how to like maintain. But regardless, it doesn't matter because if you're going to buy this drone, you're probably going to fly it in like the sport mode or like whatever manual mode that they have set for this, right? That's the main goal. I think that's what people will be doing.
Yeah.
And it flies reasonably well in those modes. Is it super fast? No. I mean, it's not like crazy fast. I mean, I think it can hit like 50, 60 miles an hour in the sport mode, which is still faster than most people probably need to go. Go into manual mode, and now you're doing like 85, 90 miles an hour, which is, oh man, that's crazy. That is crazy. That thing's like a bullet. So that's sort of scary. Let's see, Paul, we got some questions here. I saw.
I mean, I think I heard it great from a real pilot one time. They said that, it's great to get in the simulator and learn just the basics on how to control the airplane or control your FPV drone. But what happens is when you get into the real world, that fear kicks in. So like, now all of a sudden you're flying an airplane and you're like, oh my gosh, this thing is actually moving the airplane up. That like fear, that tension comes into place. So the sims help you get used to the controls and kind of have a heads up figuring out what everything does. But then once you get into the real world with the real thing, it's totally different. It adds that your body naturally adds that fear factor to it.
It's also called gravity. Gravity becomes a thing very quickly.
Well, but it's like, the whole crash factor. Oh, if you crash in the sim, you just press the restart button and go again. But if you crash your FPV drone,
I will say that this little button right here is basically like a reset button and liftoff. I mean, this thing is cool. I mean, like, I know I had negatives and I had positives about it, but one of the things I missed just because I didn't realize it until today is this is really cool. Just to be able to tap that and see the thing just stop. Now, obviously, if you're looking at it from a cinematic thing, like you get into a jam or something, you tap that and it stops it. It just flips it. I mean, that's pretty cool. I mean, I do like that. So, I mean, they definitely did refine the fail-safe processes because beta flight fail-safes have always been like, I'm sort of like, is it going to work for me or is it not going to work for me? I never know if it's actually going to do what it's supposed to. That's scary. That's really scary, actually.
Does the FPV warn you if you go over 400 feet? Is it just like the Mavic series?
It does. It does. So I guess that's something we could talk about because there's geofencing in in the FPV drone, there's altitude limitations. So one of the things is if you go over 400 feet, it does warn you. Will it stop you from going over 400 feet? No, it'll let you go up to a maximum. I think it's like 1,689 feet or something like that, which is pretty damn tall. Like I don't know of any buildings that high. I don't think anybody's gonna be diving a building. But I mean, I can understand if somebody was flying the mountain or ridges or something, they're probably going to want to go as high as they possibly can go. But there is a limit to that regard. But I think that's not necessarily a bad thing. But the geofencing to me is the one that annoys me the most. Just because we as a pilot probably, we're not looking to go sky high a lot of times with FPV. We're looking to stay close and tight to things and usually very low, sometimes even, several feet above the ground in a safe manner. And then you can't fly in an area or you can't fly in a park because they think you're going to go, higher than what the height floor is in that area. So that sort of sucks. I don't know. Right. What do you think about that, John?
I saw that in Kebab's review. He went to a couple of places, really nice looking places to get footage. And when he was saying it was out in the middle of nowhere, they were not no-fly zones, but the DJ app thought that they were, so he could not take off of it. And so he's saying, because of that happening to him a couple of times, he probably wouldn't trust it to go on commercial shoots, at least not without some other kind of backup.
That's a good point. There's a lot of pilots that would use this commercially, and I do that too. Like when I go on a commercial shoot, if I'm doing something, I bring 2 drones. I bring my Evo and I bring my Mavic. My first choice is my Mavic, obviously. But if that fails me, I'm going to take the Evo out because I know that will get the job done. I'll still be able to get my authorization to fly that area, but there's no software on the drone that's preventing me. I don't know. It's gonna be interesting to see how that plays out. See how they enhance that. I'm sure if they get enough pushback, maybe they'll make it a little bit more liberal to where they say, okay, you need to get an authorization. I mean, the app does let you run the authorizations. I don't know if Kebab knew that or not. Like you can plug in and you can get an authorization in the area. It's just whether or not it will actually let you. Like today, it wouldn't let me fly in an area. So I was like, all right, fine, I'll just move. The other thing, though, is if you hit a geofenced area, it's sort of weird. It throws you back out of it. I ran into that today in Tampa. I hit a geofenced area, and it was just like the cusp of it, and it threw me back out of it. I was like, oh, shit, that's new. So I don't know.
All right, John. TBS Oblivion or DJI FPV?
I would definitely go DJI FPV.
Yeah.
The TBS Oblivion was a really cool drone, but it's a few years old by this point.
Yeah.
If you were going to go make your own drone or buy a bind and fly, there's other options out there. I think the DJI FPV could be a good way to teach yourself and get some nice usable footage. And then you may want to graduate up, go one way or the other.
So I guess let me ask this. This is like sort of a double-edged question. How many people do you think will buy this and actually graduate to something else?
I think it's just like any Christmas morning, the day after Christmas, they always say is like the crashing drone day. Everybody opens up their new Mavics or whatever, goes out and crashes them immediately. How many of those people, get reload for round 2? I think it'll be the same here. There's going to be a large percentage that are going to fly 5 times. Like when I got my first Phantom, I was like, I got really awesome footage of my whole neighborhood, and I was like, okay, now what do I do with this? There's going to be people like that, and there's going to be people that crash it and don't want to fix it, and then there's going to be people that go one way or the other.
I did see somebody said that now in the coming weeks is going to be the best time to buy DJI goggles when everybody starts crashing their stuff.
That's a good point.
He's not wrong. He's not wrong. So that's I guess silver lining there is that there will be a lot of FPV goggles for sale, possibly.
On the topic of goggles, how heavy are they? If somebody wants to know.
They're about 450 grams.
Yeah, I mean they're a little noticeable in the face. I would say if you're gonna get the goggles, definitely get the foam padding. Get rid of that pleather. You got to get rid of the pleather padding. You have to get the foam. It's like not even. It's a must, I think.
Hey, John,
I don't even understand why they didn't.
Sorry.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
I was just gonna make a joke. I ask him if the Mando helmet comes with the goggles. I mean,
yeah, what's up with the Mando helmet?
That was one of my 3D printing projects.
You printed that?
Looks awesome.
Yeah,
Dude, that thing's
this
amazing.
was- I still have to finish it. I haven't painted it yet, but yeah.
What'd you print that with, John?
This
What
was on
printer?
a CR10 in one go. It took like 54 hours, and you can
How
see
many
I
hours?
messed up here.
54 hours.
54.
Holy
Wow.
crap. I don't know if I could do that. That's amazing.
So
though.
it died here like at hour 48, and I was like so much crying because this was like a
Oh.
50 die. And I figured out where it died, and I just printed the rest and glued it. So I need to like get some Bondo on there. But
Yeah. That looks amazing though.
Yeah, it looks great.
That does look cool. That'd be cool to see somebody flying like with goggles, you know, and like it's a built-in like a stormtrooper. That would be absolutely cool. What's a good headband for the goggles? Honestly, I just changed my bands out to the fat straps, or
I like
obviously
the Ethics one right here. But any one like this stick will work just fine.
yeah. I'm not a fan of the over the head strap.
I feel like I'm one of the only people that is. I actually really enjoyed the over the head strap.
Do you?
I don't use
mean-
it anymore. I have a similar one to what you guys have, but
Yeah.
I liked it.
I mean, I guess it's not bad because they are a little bit more heavy. I noticed when I put the foamies on, it was a little bit more droopy. But
Yeah.
man, the foam is just such a game changer. Like I have to have it. That's the first thing I buy for the goggles is the foam
Yeah.
because you gotta have it. There's just
There's
no
so
way
much
around
light leak with the original like leather
terrible.
or
Terrible.
pleather. Yeah.
Yeah, the pleather is definitely bad. Somebody asked about the motion controller. I do have the motion controller. I haven't unboxed it yet. I do intend to play with it. I don't know what to do with it. I think it is cool. I do like the fact that if somebody was missing a limb, they could fly a drone at that point, which I think it's pretty damn cool at that point. So I know a company tried to do this and failed miserably. But what's interesting about the motion controller is when I was at CES 2 years ago, there was a guy there that was pitching DJI on how to sell or how to fly a drone with a glove. He had like a glove on his hand and he was flying a Spark and he was making the Spark go backwards and forwards. Billy was with me and he actually was like, dude, look at this. And they're in the cage and they're flying this thing. And of course, once one of the DJI reps tried it out, they wrecked it. But I wonder if that technology stemmed. From that presentation, like if they bought that technology from that developer, because it was really cool. But
Well, I noticed that a lot of toy drones right now come with the option of having like a glove controller, whatever. I've never tried them. I don't know how good they actually are, but a lot of the toy grade drones, like that's become like a pretty popular thing to include.
Lauren
So-
says,
Yeah, I want to know how it flies for you. It's been a fascination since that 80s movie The Wizard, where they show the Power Glove, and one of the biggest disappointments of my childhood was never.
does it follow you though?
owning-
Can you make it
Power Glove.
follow you? Like, I don't know. Is there a follow mode with it? Because that's what I want to know.
I saw Nerd like acting like it was a gun and going like this.
Yeah.
And the drone was responding with him. Like,
Yeah,
it
that's
seemed
crazy.
like just out of a video game. I was like, oh my God, I'm doing that.
I mean, it sounds cool because like if there's obstacle avoidance turned on, it's going to be cool to actually, like, I can see that being fun. Like I would fly that probably more than anything else, just because like, all right, that's pretty dope to be able to, use one hand and be able to do something else. Like if you're vlogging or something and the drone's trailing behind you. But I think it would be cool if it followed you too. I think that would be
cool.
that would be really cool. It got me interested after DJI did this, and I said, what would it look like if Skydio built a FPV drone with their technology and their hardware and capabilities? So it was funny. The CEO of Skydio did respond to that. He said, well, what would it matter if the probability of hitting a gap was computed? He goes, you just send it anyhow. It's a Skydio. I was like, it's got a point. So maybe other companies will jump on this bandwagon of this. I mean, it'd be cool to see what other people decide to do. I think what we'll end up seeing is other manufacturers in the FPV realm try to duplicate this somehow. I think we'll see that. I mean, we already are actually seeing stuff like this from other manufacturers that are building binding flies, whether it's of the utmost quality that we can expect, but we're seeing fans and things being put into these quads so they can be ran. I think that's one of the coolest things is that you can keep this powered on and you don't have to worry about the air unit overheating or the ESC overheating or nothing. You can just leave it powered on, and when you're ready to take off, you can take off. I mean, that's pretty cool.
That is really cool.
I mean, I
literally
think
yesterday I left one of my air units plugged in and I forgot about it.
I've done that.
I honestly don't even know if it works anymore. You know, it was only like 20 minutes, but who knows?
I mean,
it's definitely.
I think fans are pretty interesting. Like, I live in Florida, so it gets really hot. Like, it gets super hot down here. And I've had like fail safes in the summertime flying the Caddx Vistas because it gets so hot. These units, I mean, I get like one flight out of it and it's done. But this was pretty cool. It stayed cool. The most frustrating thing about this drone actually yesterday was the firmware updates. Trying to update the firmware was an absolute pain in the ass. It was like I don't know, a monkey trying to fuck a football, because it was like trying to play whack-a-mole with all the different computers. Like, I had my MacBook, I had my main PC, and I'm like, all right, it doesn't like anything I'm doing. Nothing is working. And I used the app. The app kept failing. Probably the servers were getting hammered. Finally ended up doing the update, but I thought that could have been a little better. That was my only gripe. And then, oh, by the way, if you do buy V2 goggles, a couple of our customers bought V2 goggles, and now they can't fly because they didn't buy the DJI drone and their shit's locked. So don't update your goggles if you have no intention on buying the V2 drone. Yeah. Don't update the firmware, I should say. Don't update your firmware on the V2 goggles if you don't own the drone. That's all I'm going to say.
Jake Sloan, he said he never has any issues with overheating. He doesn't know why.
Wait, doesn't Jake always have those pictures in like Alaska or something? I'm thinking it's a bit cooler than Florida.
Yeah, must have something to do with the freaking wonderful air unit environment he's in.
This guy could get a Canon R5 and it would be a nice little, personal heater for his hands,
It's crazy. But yeah, so if anybody buys the V2 goggles, don't update them to the latest firmware, because apparently it locks them in drone mode. So you can't actually activate the goggles unless if you own the FPV drone, which that's a big flaw. So they need to fix that. I'm tired of answering emails from people. Hey, these goggles they're brick. They won't let me activate. I'm like, what are you talking about? Like they're like, yeah, we updated the firmware and it won't let us activate it. I'm like, oh shit. I'm like, that's not good. That's not good. So that sucks though. He said X-Jet's here.
Bruce
is here. He's always a good guy to watch the videos. I like Bruce's opinions. Whether you are ready for it or not, it's gonna come. Here's a question from Alex H. Stone. It says, do you guys think the FPV world will start getting smarter batteries and chargers now? Thoughts?
I think so. I mean, we kind of already touched on this. I think with other people stepping into the game, I guess it really depends on how popular this FPV drone is, but I couldn't see why not.
I would like to see batteries get smarter, safer, maybe. I think that's where we need to see better technologies, and batteries
for sure need to get smarter. Yes.
I don't think they're safe. The chargers are actually pretty smart now. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. I haven't had a problem with the charger. Usually it's the batteries that fail. I don't think the batteries are as safe as they possibly could be.
Yeah.
I mean, these are interesting. These are really interesting batteries. And I like the fact that they do sort of have some, I guess, sort of FPV vibe to it in a sense. Like there's some redundancy here that it's not just clicked in, like it's physically pushed in. That's pretty decent. They charge really quick, and I would say they're safe. I mean, they look safe, but looking and being safe is always two different things.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I don't want to tell anybody that they're safe, but it's $159 for this, which is fucking expensive.
Wow, that's crazy.
$159 per battery. That's expensive.
I thought the Evo batteries were expensive.
These are really expensive, and I mean, you only get 10 minutes of flight, realistically. Matt, did you order extra batteries for yours?
Not yet. No, they were sold. I wanted to get the Fly More combo, but they were sold out. So I have to figure out how to get batteries to Korea.
Where are you at? You're in Korea?
Yeah. I live in Korea. It's been a nightmare to get any sort of batteries here.
Okay. For some reason, Paul, I thought you said Matt was in Canada.
I
See, I don't know why everybody thinks that.
I have no idea.
I do have a Canadian flag hanging somewhere, but like I've never mentioned that in any of my videos.
God.
But
So
everybody
he's in fucking
thinks
Korea, Paul.
What time is it over there?
it's just past noon, 12:20.
Okay.
He's in Korea.
What do you do for a living over there?
What?
I work at a school here.
Okay.
I have
Now
a
everything I know
day
is
job and then spend way too much time in my evenings trying to do this YouTube stuff.
Wow. I feel like you just broke my mind, man.
Wow.
Did you know
it's
that, John?
daytime here.
I
You
did
know he
not
lived in
know
Korea?
that.
I just thought it was
So
Canada.
isn't is Min Chan over there?
Yeah, he is.
Oh man,
I-
collab.
I live on a little island in Korea, like on the completely southern part of it. So I'm kind of disconnected from everything.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, I think it'd be really cool to do a video with Min Chan if he was down for that.
That'd be pretty
But-
cool.
Yeah.
Holy shit, man. Well, you definitely how are the drone laws there? Pretty lenient, or is it something that they're pretty restrictive?
So I'm not 100% sure.
Oh god.
I've been trying to figure this out. Everybody that I've asked seems to kind of just say, don't do anything stupid and you'll be fine. I know that like you obviously can't fly a certain distance close to airports. They don't want you flying over cities and over people just in general. But other than those rules, I'm pretty sure everything kind of goes. That being said, I heard that in like this month in March, they were supposed to implement some sort of more strict drone laws, but I haven't heard about anything about that yet. So
Wow,
we'll see.
that changes everything. I mean, somebody could be yelling at me and I wouldn't understand. I'd be like, I mean, I guess as the tone, I would just listen for the inflection in their voice and be like, okay, I'm going to jail and I'm probably never coming back. Like that would be what happens. Holy shit. Well,
So
I
how
mean,
long have you
hey,
live in Korea?
that's not bad.
I've been here for 5 years now.
Okay.
I will be coming back to Canada in a few months though. So it's my final stretch.
And then at that point, you'd probably have to get the Canadian drone license.
Yeah.
All that good jazz. Because I know they have that fun
'cause
test.
in Canada, you have to have it,
Yeah.
Bruce
I feel like
said just dive trees, not buildings.
landing pads and all
Yeah.
that stuff.
I feel like I don't realize how good I have it here until I go
Dude.
back to Canada and then
I don't know why I never noticed. I'm watching the videos and the scenery, and I'm just never putting two and two together. I'm like, Canada's beautiful. Now I'm not really sure I want to go to actual Canada.
I've tried to mention it a few times, but people
You
get
did a
surprised
really
by
bad
that.
job of mentioning that because I've really just thought that this was Canada. Well, guys, thank you so much for joining me tonight, both of you. I really appreciate it. It's 10:25. I don't want to keep you guys too much longer with
That's all good.
Everything. But John, I appreciate your brother, your insight. As always, you're always welcome back. And Matt, let me know when you ever make it back to this side of the world.
Absolutely. Thanks for having us, guys.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah, man. I'll see you guys later.
Peace out.
All right. See you.
Paul, what are you doing?
What are you doing?
I was moving the icons, Paul. See, that's what happens when I give you control and I get control. So now at this point of the show, we're going to have to pay attention to the comment section because people are like, oh, they're not reading the comments. I don't read the comments during the show because like I want to give attention to the guests. Like I want to hear what they have to say because especially when you have two people that are, sort of interwoven into the hobby, it's like, shit, I want to hear what the hell they have to say. Plus two, it's like,
I don't know. I thought we did a pretty good job of
I think we did a good job
because
again.
I try to, now that especially when you have two guests, I try to back out and let you guys talk and let me monitor the comments. And
I appreciate that immensely. I know that a lot of people, like I said, they were pissed about my opinion on the drone. But here's the thing: like, I don't know if anybody took this from a takeaway. I never once said I hate the FPV drone. I never said I hate this. That never came out of my mouth. I think it's important to talk about the negatives of a product because a product doesn't get better by praising a product. A product gets better by being critical of it. And I just left it with it's different. I'm honestly miffed because do I prefer to fly my built drones? Yes. And I've said this before, if this came out and I never started flying FPV, I probably would have been more inclined to lean towards this, and maybe my mentality would have been different, but I didn't. I took the route of I wanted to learn like the ins and outs of everything. So I went that route. I guess I can blame COVID for that.
Can you elaborate on for B-Man?
All right, so here's the deal with the V2 update. So when the V2 goggles were first released, they had a firmware update. This was before the FPV drone came out. I updated to that latest version. I think it was like 1.01 or something like that. I forgot what the firmware version was. Anyways, doesn't matter. That firmware version was fine. But now the new V2 goggles that came out, when you plug them into Assistant is going to show you that there's an update available. You're not going to want to update, because if you update to the latest version, the goggles will not activate. Because the way it activates now is you plug the goggles into your phone and you connect the DJI Fly app, and then it activates the goggles that way. And if you don't own the drone, the goggles the app's not going to be triggered to start the FPV app, I guess, best way to put it. So just don't update it. Hopefully that makes sense. Hopefully that makes sense in any event, but most people just need to there's no firmware fix anyways for the V2s, so I don't even update my goggles ever, unless if DJI says, hey, if you don't update it, you're gonna die or something. I don't know. That's the only time I do that. Let's look at the comments here. If you update the goggles to the latest firmware before you activate them, you have to have the whole system drone controller correct. And even if you update the goggles to the latest version, it's going to make you reactivate them again. So don't update them at all. Don't think I activated these goggles and I'm updating the firmware. No, there's something wrong with that firmware, that it's stuck in drone mode or something. I can't explain it, but just don't do that, because then it's going to be useless. Which that would suck if you spent $500 and you have to now wait on DJI. Cody Mon said, I guess I just got rubbed the wrong way last week. Thanks for clearing up your opinion. The one thing about first impressions in any product, your opinion is always subject to change. That's why I do a first impression, because I never want to make something sort of finite. Like, I don't want to make a concrete opinion on something, because just like anything else in this world, it's technology, and technology is subject to change. And DJI is notorious about releasing a half-baked product, and then they will use us as beta testers, a wide array of beta testers, and then they will go back and make subtle changes to fix the firmware and fix things to make it better and add in new features. But here's the problem. I pay for this $1,200 at the launch date, and then maybe 6 months down the road, now the product's amazing. So sometimes it's worth not waiting. There's a lot of FOMO that happens in the drone world. A lot of people see the drone and they see all their friends buying the drone. They want to buy the drone. And then when they get it, it doesn't meet their expectations and they are upset. The problem is a lot of people won't tell you that. And then you buy it and you spend your money and now you're fucked. That's the way.
Mav Mount asked this question a few times in the stream. We haven't been able to get to it, but
the FPV drone does not have an articulated gimbal option. The gimbal articulates 90, like up and down. It goes up and down. That's it. It doesn't go side to side. It just goes up and down on the gimbal. I mean, it's just that. Like, that's the gimbal, and I don't know, like, it's limp dick right now, but that's all it does. It goes down, it goes up, it goes down, it goes up, and it's got like a little vibration side to side, but that's really all it does. I mean, Michael asked me, would you get this as your first drone? No, I wouldn't. I wouldn't as my first drone. I just wouldn't. I think that if you want to fly FPV, I think there's a lot of cheaper options. I still agree with Matt. I think analog is a great way to go. I think there's nothing wrong with analog. Like, there's not bad. Like, I've had good experiences with analog and I've had bad experiences, but I've had more good experiences than bad experiences. That makes sense. Hopefully that makes sense. You can get a whole kit relatively cheap. I mean, like maybe $500 all up in the air, and then you test it and you see if you like it. The only benefit to going with this as your first drone, if you don't like it, you can either A, return it, or B, sell it for probably what you paid for it. I don't know. I don't know. I just personally wouldn't say it's like a beginner. I don't even know where the word beginner came in. Yes, there's a lot of beginner stuff in the software, but I don't know.
I mean, I guess it's just because it has a lot of fail safes for beginners.
Yeah,
essentially.
there is a lot of fail safes. It's fairly intuitive to a certain extent, but durability wise, they could have did better. I think they dropped the ball. They dropped the ball as far as durability goes. They dropped the ball. Like here's the thing. Like I don't get my drones from DJI, right? It's pretty apparent. DJI never sends me anything. I work with the distributor that I have partnered with, that I own a portion of the distributor. We get these drones, and I can say what I feel about it, because at the end of the day, I'm going to sell this drone to somebody. And if they don't like this drone, I have a 30-day return policy. They're going to return this drone back to me used. Well, now I have to mark this drone as a refurbished drone or a used product, which makes it harder to sell. So I don't want somebody to buy it and have false expectations of a product that they weren't really 100% sold on. So I want them to have all the facts. If I give you all the facts on a product and you say, you know what, you said everything you had to say, but I'm still going to buy that product, I'm still going to buy that drone. Okay, well, that's on you. I did my job as a seller to give you all the correct information, but you still made the assessment that you want to buy the drone. Then it's out of my hands. I did my job, so it's on you. So that's where I stand as far as that goes.
Brad asked if it was priced a little cheaper, do you think it would be different?
I don't know. Maybe if it was $800, I mean, it would be not bad. I don't know. I mean, you're still spending money on something. I mean, the reality is the drone is $650. You're paying for the RC. You're paying for the kit, basically, to get up in the air. If this was compatible with, I don't know, like a Mavic controller, maybe it's a little less of a sting or something, but that's not the case. Are they going to
sell it separately, like the drone separately eventually?
I'm sure they will. I'm sure. I got to switch over. Hang on a second, Paul. I got to switch over to this other mic, or this headphone is like, can you hear me now, Paul?
I hear you.
Okay, great.
I echo a little bit now, but
no, I just bounced it back there.
Oh.
You're probably not echoing now. I don't know. I mean, I don't think price really is a big deal. What do you say? Yeah, you can use it like XJet said, you can use it in manual mode, or you can use it in the Mavic mode, or whatever, the normal mode, the sport mode. But it's almost like at that point, if you're going to use it in the standard mode and you're not going to fly manual, then it's like, all right, just get yourself a Mavic then, if that's what you're looking for. I mean, that's the way I see it. Then just get yourself a Mavic, because that's what you're going to be accustomed to. Because this thing is not going to like snap off photos. It's going to grab screen grabs. It's not going to be something you're going to get an epic shot with. You can get different angles, but I think, the problem is, even if you're learning FPV and you said, okay, I want to flip it into manual, I sort of have a good grasp on things. I flip it into manual, and you have just one accident. One accident could be enough to make this thing a paperweight, and then you got to send it into DJI and then try it all over again. Now you're going to be really gun shy, as opposed to if you build a drone or you buy a bind and fly that's carbon fiber and you hit it against the ground, you bounce it, chances are you can crash that thing over and over again. And the worst you're going to do is maybe break a prop, maybe a GoPro mount, and you're back up in action. That's all I'm saying. But in the end, just fly the simulator, I guess. I don't know.
So Lauren wants to know about availability.
Availability? I mean, you can buy them now. They're available.
You have some in Drone Works, right?
Yeah, we got it. We got them in stock. There's like, I've got 50 units that I'll probably never sell. XJet says he wants to see the fail of FPV videos falling with vertigo. Yeah, that's real. I'm notorious for doing that. I'll be flying and I take a step forward or backwards and I'm like, oh shit. Yeah, that's going to be funny seeing that.
Okay, that's interesting. So I guess Brad Henderson says that it's priced at $749 on their website, which means just the drone alone.
$749. Okay, so it's a $749 drone just by itself. I mean, you're sort of getting a good savings though, if you think about it. Like you're getting the goggles for what, $450 at that point. You're getting an RC for $300. I mean, I guess there's some savings bundled in there. I don't know. I would just say if you want to buy it, buy it. If you don't. That's it. Somebody said Matt offers good Canadian content. I had no idea he was in Korea. Yeah. Let's see. Yeah, you can. Oh, Lauren said it's not a question. Yeah, of course. You can buy the drone. Buy it. Brad, I would say just fly it first. And if you like it, keep it. If you don't, return it. I mean, just fly it first. See how you like it. You may be like, oh, I'm okay with this. XJet compares this to the Apple of FPV drones. That's a pretty fair and accurate assessment.
So when you fly it, if you were to let go of the sticks, would it hover or would it fall out of the sky?
It hovered. Like, I posted a video today on Facebook. I don't know if you saw it.
I didn't see the Facebook. No,
I posted a video. So I told you if like it did like a fail safe, I lost RC signal.
Oh yeah, I saw that. So it does. It does.
Yeah, to an extent. It's hard to explain. It's weird. It caught me off guard because I wasn't expecting it necessarily. And then it did that. And I was like, oh shit. I'm like, I did not anticipate that. So let me see if I'll share the screen. Share screen. Let me go to Premiere Pro. Boop. There it is.
Allow. So you can have different modes in this thing. I'm assuming?
You can just leave it just like this. You don't got to go full screen. So this was the flight I took today. I was just buzzing around, just wanting to see, like, So I'm flying in manual right now, and just cruising around, just seeing how far I could do. And I wasn't very far. Like, I wasn't very far away from the car. I mean, it's not terrible. And it was windy, so it was probably about 20 to 25 knots out here. You'll see when I get close to the palm trees, you can see how windy it was. I mean, I was getting blown around quite a bit, but I just wanted to sort of just buzz around, see what was out here. Nothing in particular. One thing I do want to note, though, is just the shadows are just, this thing does terrible. Like, see, it favors the highlights a lot. Like, look at the shadows, how bad that is.
Yeah.
That is pretty bad. If I pull up Lumetri, I bet you that's going to be, look at that. That's shit.
It's like exposing for the sky, essentially.
It's exposing for the sky. So I think it's like over here, you'll see what happens. So I start getting a little more aggressive. And I'm like, all right, I'm really feeling it now. I'm like, all right, it's flying pretty damn good. And I'm in full manual, and I'm like, you know what? I'm going to push this as far as I can go. I turn here, and right here, it loses signal. Boom, right there. See how it stopped itself?
Interesting.
So it lost signal, and you'll see where my car is at. This is where I'm at. So now it's in normal mode, and it's going to come back. Now I'm flying it back to myself in normal mode. So right now it's coming back to me, and now I take control right about like here. So now this is just the normal mode. The one thing about normal mode is look at the horizon. It's like it's a tilted horizon in normal mode. The only way I get a straight horizon is if I'm flying in manual. It levels out here and there. Again, it is really freaking windy, but you can see my car is like right over here. Like, it's just straight ahead. You'll see my car right there. So I wasn't very far, and it lost signal. That was pretty alarming.
Interesting.
So, yeah.
So it lost signal and then took, pretty much did like what every other Mavic.
Yeah, it just comes back to you. So I mean, the cool thing was it came right back to me. I was able to land, no incident. That was fine. But it catches you off guard, and you're like, oh shit, like, that just scares you. So now I don't know if it's something to do with if you're flying in manual, like there's a limit. I don't know. I didn't look into that. It didn't seem that way, but I don't know.
Huh.
Would you have lost signal with your custom built drones at that point? No, I've flown all the way out to that island and a bit beyond, and I've never lost signal. My quads can typically go pretty far. I would lose video before I would lose RC signal with tracer. So how far was that? It was not 1 kilometer. That was maybe 400 yards. So how bad is the prop wash on some maneuvers? It's pretty bad. They state 10 kilometers. Well, that wasn't 10 kilometers. I don't know what to tell you. That was not 10 kilometers. And I was facing toward the drone. Like I was facing toward it. So my signal was projecting towards the drone. Yeah, I don't know. It was weird. I'm going to test it again tomorrow. I think what I'll do is I'll test it away from water. So if it does do anything crazy and it happens to go down, at least I can retrieve the drone. Tracer is 1 watt capable. With the new update, well, we don't know if it's 1 watt. They call it ludicrous mode, but I'm assuming it's 1 watt. But for legal compliance, they've taken the name of the wattage out and they're just calling it ludicrous mode, but it's pretty damn good. I'm definitely not disappointed with Tracer. Curious what the bitrate was just before it failsafe with the radio link. Yeah, that's a good question. I'll have to pull the file off the goggles 0 and see what it said when it happened. I mean, it looked like the video was fine. I didn't notice anything in the video. I thought it was fine, but it was just weird. I got to that point and it was just like, nope, stop. It was weird. Yeah, the Tango 2 is at 1 watt, but I stopped flying Crossfire. I'm flying Tracer now, so I'm not going to use the Tango 2, even though it does have 1 watt now. I'm just still going to fly Tracer. I definitely like some of the features and I like the diversity, and I've had better luck in certain bandos with Tracer than I have with Crossfire, even though Crossfire has some other benefits, but I don't know. I feel like I like Tracer. It's done better when I'm flying with other people. On the V1 FPV system, the video and RC link are apparently in the same data stream. Maybe different on the V2. I think it may be different on the V2 because there definitely is no video breakup on the goggles. It's got to be. I mean, it's dual band, so I mean, maybe the video bounces, the RC link bounces to, let's say, 2.4, and the video's on 5.8. Maybe, I don't know. It's definitely interesting, but yeah. Did it regain signal after I lost signal? Yeah, as soon as it started coming back to me, it was fine. So I don't know. It was weird. Like I said, it caught me off guard, but that safety net was pretty cool. Have I tried Ghost? I have not tried Ghost yet. However, a buddy of mine has flown Ghost and he loves it. So I just stick with TBS just because I know what their support teams do and I'm just a fan of it. He's going to be throwing XJet's going to be throwing it on a Spectrum to test that. I'd be interested to see what that does. I'm interested to see. I'm interested to also see somebody tear one of these down, put it on a custom frame, and like improve the inefficiencies, like the areas of where like this is no longer where it could have been better. Like take it, put it on a frame, and just make it work. I don't know. I'm sure somebody's crazy enough to do it. Absolutely certain somebody is crazy enough to do it. Thought on cruise control? It's an interesting feature, cruise control. Do I think I would use it? Probably not. I don't think I would use cruise control, but it is a cool feature. All right. I think that's going to do it. 1046. Paul, that was a solid stream. I know we hopefully answered quite a bit of questions. Good guess tonight. Good guess. What's the matter?
People just keep asking if I sing the intro. No, I don't sing the intro.
No, Paul couldn't carry a note to the bank.
I could, but
I don't know. We'll have to
be
see.
Maybe I've always wanted to do a Paul Feynman remix that song.
Maybe one night you sing for us, Paul, and that doesn't sound too bad. New business opportunities, carbon fiber frames for DJ. I think it's possible. I honestly think somebody will take this frame and they'll make an actual 1-for-1 clone, make it into carbon, and you just transition the parts. I'm also waiting to see like people put their own motors on this somehow. I mean, that would be pretty damn cool. I mean, who knows? I'm just gonna leave it fly. I still prefer my other quads. I mean, it is what it is. It's still fun to fly. I mean, I don't know. We'll see. All righty.
All right, man.
All righty. Well, Paul, you want to send us off, my friend?
Oh, of course. Guys, it's been real. And don't forget, stay original.
I want you, I need you, you got me
I'm singing this song here. It's original Dobo, and you know it's gotta be real. Ooh, yeah. Original Dobo. Original Dobo. He's a big hobo, and he lives in Florida, boy. Yeah.
I want you, I need you, you got me right.